Good evening. The Great Wall of China is the longest spanning man-made structure on the earth. During its construction, the Great Wall was known as the longest cemetery on earth. It has been reported that over 1 million people perished during its construction. Oftentimes, those who died were just tossed inside and buried within the structure. My name is Candace Borland, and I'm here today to give you a little history lesson on the Great Wall of China. The history of this structure is one of the most magnificent construction projects ever undertaken during history class, ever undertaken. During history class, we covered an overview of the structure, and I was intrigued, and I have spent a couple hours of Googling different things about the Great Wall of China and reading numerous facts. Also, I've watched a few History Channel specials that have given me a good deal of information. Today, I'm going to tell you about some of the more interesting facts, the architectural grandeur, the historical significance, and what its intended purpose was. Defense work on the Great Wall during the Ming Dynasty was divided into architecturals of different grades, classes, forms, and uses, such as fortresses, towns, castles, garrison city, mountain pass city, stronghold city, city wall, a watchtower, wall tower, and furnace mound. The mountain pass city was the primary station for top generals and other high-ranking officers. During stays away from the primary duty stations, beacon fire sites were used to make smoke or fire to warn people of attack. These sites were the primary means of communications from one tower position to another, whether it's warning or incoming attack or just passing along general daily information. These sites have been used on such manner that you would have seen in a country western show with Native American tribes sending smoke signals between mountain pass cities, and beacon fire sites was what it commonly known as the wall. This provided an integrating unit that was the primary obstacle for opposing forces attempting an invasion. The Great Wall was also provided a separation between different city-states. These isolated city-states appeared to be dominated by enormous walls built around major cities. Within these cities was a true division between top and bottom, those needing the wall for protection and those building the wall for protection. The Great Wall carried a considerable part of Chinese culture. It has long been incorporated into Chinese mythology and symbolism. The construction, which drew heavily on the local resources for construction materials, was carried out in line with the local conditions under the management of contract and responsibility system. Most often, these workers building a wall were enslaved to perform duties. Strangely enough, the armies that went off in defense on these cities also were actively involved in the construction of the wall and what we could also be considered enslavement. This great amount of manpower composed of soldiers and prisoners built the wall. The construction result demonstrated the wisdom and tenacity of the Chinese people. These large armies that occupied the wall allowed for a great deal of protection. Isolation from invading forces and also opposing sides in the north and tempting attack was the primary means to the wall protection for those isolated regions was a huge concern. Being so isolated communities, joining these cities was a primary concern of rules, expanding their reign and building their dynasties. This displays of might lead to a fear of invasion and also deterred these nations from attacking them. Even if this display was but a paper tight due to the severe strain placed on their forces from their continued push, nonetheless, with this added protection and display of power, the wall allowed the vast civilization to strive. Therefore, the architectural, the historical significance, and what it was intended for has allowed the Great Wall of China to be distinguished the structure and permitted China become a world power. Contrary to popular belief, the Great Wall of China cannot be seen from the moon with the naked eye. The myth was actually started prior to man even setting foot on the moon. With that being said, it is nonetheless a magnificent structure. Thank you.